Hi, and welcome back to the TalentSpark podcast. Today we are joined by Jackie Waring, who's the founder and CEO of Investing Women. In the lead up to the Young Company Finance event in September, we're going to be discussing, among other things, the notion of competitive advantage and how you can achieve it. And looking especially at how your people can help you achieve that critical difference between yourself and your competitors. So Jackie, do you want to give us a little bit of insight into your background and also tell us a little bit about Investing Women?
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Ewan. So yes, my own background first. So I was, amongst other things, 10 years CEO of an economic development organisation in the northeast of Scotland. And we were working almost exclusively with small and medium-sized companies going for growth in the area surrounding Aberdeen, essentially. And I had 10 years of working with a very, very entrepreneurial board of directors in that role, which I know without a shadow of a doubt has really shaped my thinking today, in terms of just entrepreneurialism full stop, but also working with really great companies, very much can-do attitude, and thinking big and thinking to the future, I think is the way I'd summarise it. And I had the privilege of learning all of that from a group of some of the top names in business and top entrepreneurs in Scotland, which was wonderful. So I had 10 years there. I went on to run another spin-out company for a few years after that. And from there is where I actually set up my own company, which has been running for many years. But part of what I wanted to do during that time was to use some of the knowledge that I'd accumulated and experience, in particular with working with female founders. And having done a pretty significant piece of research with 500 female founders across Scotland in the early 1990s, I still felt, some years on, there was a long way to go in terms of maximising the potential, if you like, of female founded companies, and also the flip side of that in terms of raising funding and access to investment for female founders. And all of that was augmented by a role that I took on as a contracted in policy advisor to UK government, and did a lot of work, including looking internationally at what was happening in the world of investment, and where that was going in terms of both women angels and female founders accessing investment for growing their companies. So that was the perfect combination really of experience that led to me, oh my goodness, I guess it's really about 8 years since the germs of Investing Women, the seeds were sown. It took a little while for that to be a reality with the Angel Group. There's two sides to what we do. There's Investing Women Angels, an all-female angel group, and we've been investing since 2015. And then the other side of what we do is Accelerate Her. And as the name would suggest, we're working with talented, growth-orientated female founders and helping them to access investment. So both have been amazing journeys. The Angel Group now, we've invested 2 million. We're just reaching the 2 million mark just now, the live transaction at the moment. And 90% of that investment has gone into female-founded companies, which we're absolutely thrilled with that statistic. It's never enough, and there needs to be more, and there will be more. And then on the other side of things with Accelerate Her, the work that we've been doing both through our awards and increasingly UK-wide activity underneath that brand. But the awards in particular, just with 6 years of the awards and relatively low number of actual winners of that. That's about to increase a lot as well. We've helped those founders in their journeys to raising very close to 35 million now, and that's a relatively low number of companies there. So both journeys have been successful and are very exciting looking at the future.
So how, from your perspective, how have investors reacted over the last year of the pandemic? We're starting to see an increase in M&A activity. We're starting to see a reduction in the restrictions finally.
Yes.
So, is it fair to say the investment landscape, is it looking good going forward? How is it looking from your point of view?
I would say yes, it's looking good. I mean, Link Scotland did that fantastic piece of work, I think, with Young Company Finance, looking at investment in 2020, which was very, very healthy level, almost as good as 2019, which was a record year, in terms of angel groups and their investment in companies, and that was absolutely reflected by our own group and levels of activity. And most of the activity and investments that we made, during the last, right throughout COVID, if you like, have been new investments to us, not all first round, but a lot of it first round and early stage companies. So, and we see the appetite for that being very good at the moment, and the potential going forward actually really increasing that. So, yep, I think the environment has indeed been good, and it was a real credit, I think, to the angel community in Scotland that everyone stuck by the companies that we'd already invested in, who were, through all the challenges of COVID, some in a position where they had to raise sooner, and that those commitments have all been followed through, and I know that's the case with other angel groups. So, I think actually the activity levels have been really quite remarkable in such a challenging time, but also there have been some incredible opportunities from very, very smart, innovative entrepreneurs who've spied real opportunities and have just pivoted and gone for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the themes from the Young Company Finance event this year is competitive advantage, and how to achieve it, and then how to use that in terms of investment and so on. So from your point of view, what are investors looking for, and how do you achieve that competitive advantage?
Yes, well, I guess everybody's looking for competitive advantage, aren't they, in terms of the investment? But so are the founders, of course. Yeah. And differentiation, and very, very, very clear, strong differentiation in whatever it is the company is doing is pretty critical. If you're doing what everyone else does, you're not standing out in the crowd. The growth potential is never going to be as big, even if it's a growing market to some extent. But I think that the ultimate in differentiation, of course, is where you have a company that really is truly a disruptor in the marketplace. And the disruption can come from, most often people think about that being just the technology and some new technology, but it isn't always just that. It can be the service, a way a service is delivered to a marketplace, and completely changing that model. And so markets that are ripe for disruption and clever founders and founding teams that come in there with a new solution at a time when the marketplace isn't being fully satisfied by current approaches are always very, very attractive companies to back. Yeah. We've seen one. I can give an example recently. I mean, we've all heard about the Hollywood studios being built in the UK, and that film and media sector. Well, some really, really interesting dynamics around that sector in terms of, the global appetite fueled by lockdown, but I think there to stay in terms of the appetite for new commissioning, new content, and massive demand for that's not being fulfilled. And part of why it's not fulfilled is because of processes and systems that are just too clunky, too much about connections that already exist, as opposed to just a slow commissioning process. So a marketplace ripe for disruption in terms of use of technology, but also for diversifying content and the content providers, in terms of that sense of diversity as well, and much criticism of the film industry in the past of that. So that's a really interesting marketplace, and we have an investment in that marketplace that we think is very early doors, but could be very exciting for the future because it's such rapid growth. And that world of the big film studio is absolutely still there, but it's the Netflix of the world, it's the Prime Videos of the world, it's the companies like that are commissioning left, right, and centre and can't get enough content fast enough. So someone who's positioned in that space is really well placed. So there are lots of different. I mean, that's a really key one. People is always one of the things. It's not enough by itself, but there needs to be a growth marketplace with future potential there. But if that's a given, then we're always looking at the people first. Is this a team that really has the caliber, has the know-how, the experience, the track record to pull this off? And if it's a really exceptional team, then yes, that is a differentiator as well. And then the other one that I think is absolutely critical, even for companies that at a different time you might think wouldn't fly in a marketplace, is just timing, just pure timing, market timing. And those that are smart and can see big, societal, socioeconomic, and all sorts of changes, obviously, huge on the top of the agenda, climate, and everything that goes along with that. Companies that have positioned themselves well in that space and are really tackling those issues, and getting there early in that change process or even ahead of it, are really well positioned for differentiating themselves and getting in there. And it's timing. It's just timing the marketplace. So those are really key things.
And you mentioned COP26 there. With that coming around, are you starting to see more renewable energy or sustainable energy companies coming in front of you and pitching for investment?
Yes, we're starting to see an increase in that now, and it's an area that I think us as a group will really want to look at that more, and looking for that kind of innovation, and we all need to do that. I mean, it's really an imperative, I think, that we do start to try to back anything that's really helping there. So yes.
So you mentioned they're just looking at almost diversifying your investment portfolio. And is it important as an angel group, as a group of investors across this country, that we look to different opportunities and look for different investment opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's really critical. And I think it's the responsibility is as much on us as investors as is on the founders, to try and keep ahead of the game in terms of what are the future industries, what does that look like, looking to the future and keeping up with those changes, and therefore diversifying. I mean, in our group, for example, obviously we keep in touch with all the members about what they're interested in, and some people do have preferences in certain sectors, but we generally speaking are more or less sector agnostic, in terms of what we look at. And I think that's really important, because I think that sometimes opportunities in some sectors, with traditional thinking, would be overlooked, and with changes in people's lifestyles, demands, environmental changes, there are companies now that are really exciting from not just from the investment perspective, but also from the impact that they have. And I think I know we as a group get most excited about the companies that are really making a positive difference in whatever arena that is, because that's a very broad scope, and how you can make a positive difference. It can be health, it can be climate, it can just be a benefit to society in some way, and there's a huge range within that, and you just have to keep an open mind in terms of you're closing off opportunity if you think we'll never invest in that sector, because you just that sector might be going through massive change, and there might just be a complete reshaping and a complete new set of opportunities. And just keeping an open mind about that's important. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, just final question. So, what's next for Investing Women? Where to next?
Oh well, there's a lot going on, and Certainly, well, we're always going for growth, in terms of our membership, and that's working really well. We've got some phenomenal, globally experienced, women in the group. So that is going from strength to strength, and with that and with other things comes the increase in funding that is specifically available for female-founded companies, because we've all heard the statistics on that. They're nowhere near where they need to be. So we have some plans afoot to increase the funding availability for female founders. So longer term plans, but yes. So certainly there. And in terms of our Accelerate Her activity, that's absolutely going UK wide. Some of it already is. There's more coming, and some announcements coming, and also some announcements coming from some of our portfolio in the not so far off future as well. So there are some exciting things afoot, and it's all about growth and progress and making a difference ourselves in terms of diversifying investment. And
brilliant. So what I'll do is I'll put your details in the bio underneath the podcast. But do you want to let people know how they can get in touch with yourself if they are interested in finding out more about investing women or?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the easiest way, frankly, is via the website. So we've got two websites. So it's investingwomen.co.uk. and then accelerateher.co.uk. So just we do what we say, the name says, or the name on the tin says what we do. There's contact details and contact points on both websites. So that's probably the simplest way to contact us. Probably worth mentioning for any founders that are wanting to approach the Angel Group formally, that we're using a deal management platform called Dealum, but there's a link on that through our Investing Women website under the pitch tab. There's a link through to the platform that people can contact us and upload their information and get in front of our screening group. So yeah.
That's great. Well, listen, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you at the YCF conference.
You will indeed. You will indeed. Thank you very much, Ewan. Thank you.
Thank you.